Alright YouTube, welcome to part 13 of my huge RC trophy truck build. I'm putting it together now, hopefully for the final time, getting a few problems ironed out. Just thought I'd show you where my progress was up to. Let me get hold of this camera and we'll see what's happening. Right, it's back from paint anyway. A good friend of mine dealt with it for me, nice one Tommy, sat in the tent in the back garden. It's just a dark sort of grey colour, looks a bit primerish, but with a nice shine on it. Don't hide too much of my crappy welding, but there you go. It'll be covered up by the body most of it, so you won't see much. You can see I've got the wishbones in. I've put some high tensile M8 bolts through the top and bottom. Give that added strength, because obviously it's going to be taking a lot of hammering. You can see it in the bottom there. In the top there you can see the top of the shocks waiting to have the bottoms and the fluid put through them. I've not added them yet because I've not settled on what shock oil I'm going to be using. Obviously with a lot of weight, even though there's two sets of shocks, I'm going to need some quite dense, high viscosity oil to hold the weight up. I'll get back to you once I work out what I'm going to do with that. I put the tops in because they bolt through this subframe that bolts to the main chassis here at 4 points, and obviously also at the front 2 points there. All M8s to hold this bit together because it needs to be strong. So you can see they've got M8 ball joints, rose joints in the ends there, so it gives a nice amount of movement. Rigid but quite smooth still. You can see here is the M8 ball joints that I'm using to go through the main hubs to join up with the bottoms, which if you remember were my MG stub axles that I machined down. They threaded in the top to take that ball joint. As you can see there, they line up quite well. So once the hub's on and the bearings are in, which they are, it'll just slot right on there. You can see how those brake mounts worked. There's one of the calipers put on. I've not piped them up yet, again something I'm looking at, but it's just a loose fit just to check that after the paint things still went together. I've started fitting the water system, the cooling system. I've got my main pipe in at the moment, which runs from the expansion bottle at the back there through the radio plate, the servo plate, sorry, and across there with a joint. Now that joint there with the pipe at the bottom, that runs to the base of the engine, so I've got to go through the chassis, well the skid plate in fact. You might not have seen this before because it was a recent addition before I had it blasted, but I made a belly pan to cover up, save all the crap getting inside that's thrown up by the tyres and stuff. It's kind of I saw it on an armoured vehicle with an angle to obviously deflect the explosions if it goes over mines. Now this ain't going over no mines, but it'll save bricks and shit getting kicked up into the middle of the car. It also helps up with the rigidity, and it'll protect the exhaust, because if I just go over the top here, you can see there the hole where the exhaust will run through. So the swan neck on the exhaust will be open to everything that was getting kicked up by the tyres. So that covers the swan neck, makes a nice smooth base for it, and I've used it at this point to strengthen up the front spine. Even though the whole front's set on one line, there's nothing holding it with any sort of rigidity, nothing's triangulating it if you like to the chassis. Because of the top, the subframe, you can see there the width for that, then obviously that's holding all the front end rigid. At least that's the theory. And once it's bolted to the cages will be holding it as well. You can see the rad in there at the front. Yeah, you make that out there. And obviously I've got the inlets or outlets, sorry, depending on which way I run the water system. I've yet to work that out, but I'm on it. The mounts are in for the bottom of the radiator there, if you can see. Just some standoffs that I put through. The only problem I had fitting it all back together on this painted chassis really was just opening holes up. On the high tensile bolts that I use for the main wishbone carriers, I did have to grind down the heads just slightly to get them through these holes, because these holes are left in at the front were the only way that you could actually throw the bolts through, because obviously they're like nearly 7" I think, so I don't have that width there to get them in, so I had to do it that way, go straight through the front. Not a problem at the top because the towers come out separately, so I mounted the upper wishbones and then put the towers in, so it's not really an issue. You can see here it's a threaded insert here, another M8. This is one of the, well, it's 9 points I've got to fix the chassis and the cage together. So there's one of these on each side, and we've got the two in the windscreen, if you like, that hold the plate off the cage. We've got one at the top here that has a standoff that holds the roof of the cage together, and then as we go further back, I've got two more at the back that I'll just get the plate and show you. They have their own plate. You can see it there, that black one. It has this plate that obviously clamps the cage down to the back of it. It's just an added bit of strength. And again, there we have some M8 inserts that have been welded in, got into place there. Also on the sides, you can see there I've got some threaded inserts. Now, I've left two parts on the side of the cage, two plates that are drilled in position with this. So as well as holding the servo plate in place, it makes that rigid and it separates the cage on each side, so it'll brace it there. So it's 9 fixing points in total, so I'm thinking it should be okay. It should be enough. I hope it is anyway. You can just see on there on the top the radio box that I showed you last time. Obviously the servo cables are here, coming up this side, ready to be plugged in. Most of the connections have been done after the extensions, so they're in place. The tonner gower's up there in the front, just waiting for its power there. I put a TAMU type plug on there so I can run the separate power from the control box that I'm putting on the other side. There's the brake servo there, and the reservoir, you can see that it looks pretty neat. So we've got the brake reservoir there for the hydraulic fluid, and then this is my, it's my fuel control really. So I've got a tap for the flow, it's off at the moment, and there's a filter underneath there that's in line. So it's coming up from the fuel pump here that's dragging out the back of the tank, coming through the filter, and then it works. It's going to be a full circulation type setup. Because that pump's going to be pumping like it would do for a normal car, I could reduce the voltage slightly just to maybe try and slow it down a bit, but I don't think it will work. So it's going to be flowing constantly, so the feed goes straight back into the tank. I've put a breather tube on the top, just because obviously with this flow constantly, that'll keep the pressure down inside the tank. Then off this main feed, you can see there, it's like a breakout pipe, a bypass pipe that'll come from the main fuel line. So that'll top up, it goes through the back where the tap is, and I don't know if you can make it out there. It'll feed to the carb on the top of the engine through that pipe there. Well, it's in place, it fits, it looks pretty neat. You didn't see these before, but these are the rear arms that I made. I made them over a year ago now. On the video that you would have seen with some just simple folded, with no shock mounts or anything, that was like my basic, work it out and get the scale right. But obviously I made some out of, I think it was like 8th gauge steel plate. It's pretty heavyweight, but obviously they're taking a lot of bashing at the back. They've got 1/2 inch inserts in there with 1/2 inch stainless rose joints in the front, and obviously 1/2 inch bolt going through the back. You can make out there the links, which obviously that's bolted down, those those rear shocks. Well, they're just cable tied up there, so it won't let me move, but that goes through, runs through. You can make out there underneath. I've got another M8 rose joint. These I need to make some fillets to hold them either side, but the action's there. Let's just see if this other side will lift up. It's got the actuation, if you like. You can make it out there. So it will be independent each way. And with the axle on there. Last time on the video I think I said it was approximately 24 inches wide. I was kidding myself, I think it's nearer 27 with the track that's got on there. As you can see at the back there, the tank's in. It has a mounting plate there that also holds the battery in position. The battery's there. You can see it's just a standard motorcycle gel battery. It should hold the charge quite well. Had to make a lid for this because the one I had was out of stainless and it weighed about 2 kilos, so I don't think I can afford to put any more weight on it. You can see there, that's the charging lead for the battery. That'll stay in place all the time. And this is a template for the other side of the servo tray, or the servo mounting plate if you like. This side's going to be running the main reservoir for the front brakes, and also some electrical stuff that will be patched up with a switch box that I've got on the top there, or it will be going at the side to sit in the window of the truck. I think I've got the switch box here, I can just show you that. I'm waiting for a main power switch, but I do have the ones for like the utility side of stuff. So for the lights, I'm going to put the Tonogawa on a separate circuit so that you can switch the power on for that, and obviously the feed then to the fuel pump and also to the radio gear. All those will be on a separate switch. So I've got this box here that I've just mounted up the switches to get them ready, and then this is getting mounted on the cage. It'll be set in that window there once the main power's on and everything. I'll fix that on a bracket to the chassis and just make sure it's in position there, just inside there, so I can get at it, but it's not going to get whacked while it's driving along. Right, thanks for your continuing input and viewing. It's giving me the motivation to keep on with it, to be honest. Thanks for all your comments. Tell your friends. Peace.